So now that we understand how to utilize the basic settings within the Cameras tab of the Maxwell Scene Manager, let's go ahead and take a look at the advanced view. So I'm just going to go ahead and twirl these guys closed, and we're going to go ahead and largely ignore diaphragm. And the reason why is because it just doesn't have that much impact unless you're using a very shallow depth of field, which generally speaking is a very specialized photographic effect, and it's not really worth worrying about all that much for most of the architectural rendering that you're going to see. What we are going to look at here is the Z-clip planes. And the idea with the Z-clip planes is that they're Maxwell's version of our section planes in SketchUp. SketchUp section planes cannot go to Maxwell, and Maxwell doesn't really show what the Z-clip planes look like within the SketchUp viewport. So the basic idea here is that we're going to need Fire to be able to visualize this. So we're going to come over to Fire, click that, and we're going to go ahead and enable. To actually set in our Z-clip planes, we could enable it by clicking the check mark and then entering in manual values here. However, I find it to be really, really crude. So if you come over here to our depth of field tool, you can see that when we read down here at the bottom, it's going to say pick depth of field, Z-clip or Z-buffer. So if I click that now, it's going to say that for Z-clip, we're going to hold down Control. So we're going to hold down Control and we're going to click the near plane, and then we're going to click the far plane, like so. And what will happen is, now you can see that this has been Z-clipped, and those Z-clip values have been put in automatically by simply utilizing this and holding down Control and clicking. So if I hold down Control, click there, you'll see that we get new settings. And basically this only goes back in the Z direction, meaning straight back. So it's not like section planes, it's not as complex as section planes, but it's as good as we have within Maxwell. So that's something to bear in mind. That's what Z-clip planes are for. I'm just going to go ahead and disable that because we don't need to look at that. And now we're going to look at the shift lens effect. Now, the idea with the shift lens effect is that we're going to be keeping the same perspective. And for this, I'll go ahead and switch over to scene 1. So let's say that I have some really extreme perspective within this. And I'll go to Camera, and we'll go to Field of View. And I'm just going to go ahead and get some really extreme perspective. Something like this, right? And I want to keep that perspective. I'm happy with that perspective, but I want to move. Now, as soon as I go to move, even if I'm just using something like our pan, you can see the perspective is changing on me, and I'm not digging that. I don't want to get that extreme look up here at the top where it's like all poking towards the sky. I want to keep this exact look, but I want to move the camera down so that maybe this is in the composition a little bit higher. Well, that's exactly what shift lens is for. Now, again, for working with this within SketchUp, we would probably go to Camera and use 2-point perspective. However, 2-point perspective will not work within this plugin. So what we need to use is the shift lens instead. Now, basically, the idea here with the shift lens is pretty basic. Once we have the perspective and everything that we're looking for, we just move the camera lens by simply moving the slider like so. So you can see I'm moving it either to the left or the right, and then I can move it up or down like so. So basically the perspective doesn't change. The only thing that changes is the position of the objects within the frame of our film. So basically I have the exact same perspective here, except that in compositionally speaking, as far as our proportion goes, it's over here in our document. So this is the way that you can get the perspective you want, but the composition that you want as well. So the shift lens is very powerful. However, much like the Z-clip planes, there's really no way to visualize it except for Fire. So this is a really important thing. Always when you're adjusting these settings, make sure that you have Fire open so that you can visualize what's going on, because the SketchUp viewport just will not show you those things.